Hello there. Welcome. Get in here. Let's huddle up. Time to talk high school football on Varsity Voices, MAIS version. I'm Lee Adams here along with Cooper Sanders, the voice of Leake Academy, Cliff Barker, the voice of Tri County, and Robbie Atkinson's. Is Lamar Academy's voice going to be joining us this week? And fellas, it sure was great to get the football season started last Friday night, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was a joy just to get back out there in the booth and just watch some football. I felt like I was ready to run through a brick wall all week last week.
Yeah, I confirm Cooper's thoughts. I went up and joined Cooper for the game between Leake and JA up in Madden Friday night, and those folks in Madden from both sides were ready for some football, and that was one of the best football atmospheres I've been around in a while. I mean, it didn't feel like first game of the season; that felt like end of the year type atmosphere.
And guys, I'll tell you this, I was glad just to be in the booth because looking down in that 100+ degree humidity, I was like thankful to be upstairs. So
Absolutely. They got a new press box last year at Leak, and the first room is the radio room. They had the air conditioner blowing on us. Wonderful.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Varsity Voices presented by C Spire. They're connecting you with what matters to you both on and off the field. C Spire, all about being customer inspired. And if you want to learn more, find it all out at cspire.com. We have some headlines to look at from week number one, or week zero, as a lot of people have been calling it. And there it is right at the top, the big final score from a pair of defending state champions last year, Jackson Academy 63 and Leake Academy 40. Cliff, why don't you start us off with some of your thoughts of this big game?
Okay, so let me tell you the story about that game. My good buddy up above you, Cooper, he had invited me to come up and do a little halftime interview with him on the broadcast. And, I had a week off. I don't start football till next week. So I thought I'll show up about 30 minutes late. That'll be midway through the second quarter, maybe toward the end of the first quarter. Guys, I got there 30 minutes late. There were already 4 touchdowns scored, and there were still 7 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those ball games. It was high scoring, high scoring, high scoring. There was 81 first half points scored in that ball game, and I tell you, it's not legal to bet on high school football, but that I'm sure that would have been much above the line. That would have definitely been the over. If you took the under on that game, you would have been out a lot of money.
Yeah, it
What
was
was the general feeling among the Rebel fans after the game? I know you can look at it one way. Well, we gave up 63 points and lost by 23, but the positive way to look at it is how many points Leake Academy able to put on that stout Jackson Academy defense.
I'll be honestly, I'm one of those guys. I hate losing, and I think everybody should hate losing. I think if you're smiling after a loss for any reason, that's just poor sportsmanship, and you're not a gamer. But my perspective changed a little bit the other night. I saw some of the league guys, in good spirits after the game, talking to some of their guys, talking to old players who had came back to watch the game. You have nothing to be upset about. Yeah, you gave up 63, but you gave up 63 to the best offense in the state of Mississippi, a team that's going to score 63 on many other teams this year, but you dropped 40 on a team that gave up an average of, I think, 11 and a half last year. You dropped 40 on them. And League's going to drop 40 on more teams than JA. I saw a lot of people talking about, golly, JA, their defense is going to be struggling this year, but there was a little bit of JA having some defensive hiccups, but that was more of Leake's offense just being purely dominant the other night. And they're in good spirits. Those guys, they're not upset about it. Coach Pickens was talking to me after the game. He's like, of course it sucks. It's a loss, but you saw a lot of good things this game.
And Major Chandler, I mean, he fit the bill, what you told me about. He looks the part back there behind center, a kid that missed the whole season last year with a knee injury, would have been the tight end last year for George Wilcox. This year, he steps right in and he lit it up offensively early in the game. A couple of big pass plays early. Garrett Adcock looked good early in the ball game. I saw some things from Leake that made me feel like they're going to be exactly what we discussed last week. They're going to be one of those top 4 or 5 teams, likely top 2 teams in 4A this year. They're going to defend that state championship again. that loss to JA, I think that's something you build on for the rest of the season, because you will not convince me otherwise that JA squad is not the best squad in the MAIS right now.
Well, still a lot of football left to be played for everyone, and I'm sure MRA and Hartfield and Jackson Prep and Park Lane are all raising their hands right now saying that we're going to have something to say about who people are saying are the best in the state before this football season is over. Speaking of being the best in the state, Lamar, a 3A state championship last year, and that's our second headline tonight is Lamar's big win over the Simpson Academy Cougars. Robbie?
It was a little surprising, I think, for a lot of people to see how Lamar ran the football Friday night, simply because they had guys. You're not going to believe this, but Lamar has four sophomores starting on the offensive line. And you guys know as well as I do, that's a big undertaking for any offensive line coach. And Lamar's got a great offensive line coach, and Jeff Breland. He's been around the block a few years, and he had that group ready the other night. And Lamar's got a good 1-2 punch at running back. And everybody always focuses on quarterback. Obviously, Lamar does not have Sullivan Reed coming back this year. He decided not to play football because obviously we all know he's got a great baseball future ahead of him. But Lamar had nearly 300 yards rushing between two running backs, a senior and a sophomore. Kari Towner, the senior, and of course Joe Morrow, the 10th grader, who got a lot of playing time as a ninth grader last year. So that was really the story of that game the other night. Lamar was actually the more physical football team all night long, and it was those 4 10th graders that really turned a lot of heads. Of course, Lamar's got a new head coach this year, a little bit of a different identity, and Stacy Luker coming over from Alabama. Of course, Jacob Land's over at MRA now. So it was a much different look Lamar team. They're not going to drop back and throw it 30 or 40 times a night. This is a much different style of football team now.
Yeah, Robbie, and it's got to feel good. What'd you say the offensive line coach's name is?
Jeff Breland.
Okay, so Breland, I'm a former offensive line coach myself, and how good must that feel to know you got that kind of performance out of four sophomores down across that offensive line that are only going to improve as the season goes along. And imagine having those four guys returning as starters next year.
You only had out of those four sophomores, one guy actually started last year as a ninth grader, which
Wow.
is unheard of in any level of high school football in the state. But the only returning guy they had was the center, and that's Sam Hines. You had Knox Davis, a guy that had never played left tackle before. He started his first game at Simpson Friday night. So like I said, young across the offensive line. And of course, the bigger concern was defense, because I think Lamar probably had two of the better linebackers inside last year, maybe in the entire association, with Luke Morrow and of course another young man that's over at East Central now, and Tyler Brown. And boy, the defense didn't miss a beat inside. A lot of new faces on that side of the ball. So it's a very youthful team. But guys, you know as well as I do, it's one football game. You can't get too high with being. You're 1-0 this week. You hear coaches say that's so cliche, obviously, but now you got to go on the road again this week against a pretty good Winston team. So
What was that atmosphere like over at Simpson? That can be an intimidating place to play down in that hole back behind the school.
I'll be there next week.
I've called many a games on the road, being the broadcaster for Lamar. So I talked to Coach Luker earlier this week, Stacy Luker, the new head football coach. Of course, he came from South Choctaw Academy. He does not know about that atmosphere. And I asked him after the game, what did you think? He said, well, it feels good when you're on the right end of the score. So, but he said it was very intimidating. It was a big crowd, big atmosphere, but pretty impressive win for Lamar in week 0 rather.
Yeah, Robbie, I'll say I talked to Coach Luker a few weeks ago getting ready for our preview show, and he was telling me about the 4 10th graders on the offensive line. And I shared with him, a few years ago, I was doing some coverage of Louisville High School, and they had that same situation. They had four sophomores on the offensive line, and their quarterback had just graduated. Sullivan Reed, of course, didn't graduate, but you did not have him coming back. And Louisville was still Louisville. They were still dominant with those four sophomore offensive linemen. And it seems like Lamar, they're dominant on the line too. 2 100-yard rushers the other night is unreal for a young offensive line like that.
And it's different styles of running back too. Corey Towner's the senior. He's probably about 6 foot 195. He's got in the weight room and got bigger. He's more of kind of your run it north and south guy. Joe Morrow, the younger guy, the 10th grader, he's a much smaller guy, maybe 5'6", and he cuts to the left and right. He's got the speed out of the two, and you kind of look at it as a kind of a good yin and yang, maybe thunder lightning kind of effect. But yeah, we gave the game ball to the offensive line the other night. They really deserved it, and of course, Cade Val, the starting quarterback, he got inserted into the state championship game last year with all of the chaos that happened in that Brookhaven Academy game. So he's not any stranger to the big stage, but he only threw it 5 times the other night. So when you don't throw it that much and you run it, of course, he'll get better as the year goes along, but we'll see.
Bowling Green, Adams County Christian School, our third headline of the night. And it was ACCS coming out on the short end of that one, Cliff.
Yeah, and that was one that surprised me a little bit. I was expecting that David King coach team down at ACCS to really show out to start the season, and they took one on the chin to the Buccaneers from over at Bowling Green. But Bowling Green's a team that's been in a couple of state championship games in the last few years and have really improved that football program greatly. But boy, that one to me was kind of the surprise of the night. I did not see 35-13 Bowling Green over ACCS. I didn't have that on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see Bowling Green and ACCS this year after that game. Bowling Green has a big game coming up. ACCS, storied program, but they're going to have to bounce back, and they will. They've had to bounce back a lot over the past few years, and we're just going to see what King continues to do. If he can bounce back, they'll be in good shape. Bowling Green, they have something to build upon now. It's either going to be, hey, we beat ACCS, and they just have to see where they go from there. They can't get stagnant. They can't get complacent. They need to say, hey, we beat a team like this. That means we can beat other teams that are to that level, and we can have a chance to possibly make a run.
Bowling Green next playing Brookhaven Academy at Brookhaven down in Lincoln County, and a good chance for those Buccaneers to start out the season 2-0. Let me tell you about our friends at Rick's Pro Truck. Do you have a truck and you look at it sometimes and just say, well, there's something missing there? Something would make it a real truck. And what we're talking about is the all-new real truck backflip 4x4 at Rick's Pro Truck. That'll bring your truck back to life. And it's Real Truck, the name brand. The best-selling truck bed cover in the world. It just got better. And Rick's Pro Truck is located on Lakeland Drive in Flowood, and another location up in Gluckstadt at Calhoun Station Parkway. Now let's look over the rest of those scores. Cooper Sanders, not too many nail biters on this one, and not too many of what you would call an upset.
Yeah, not a lot of them. First, I got to ask Robbie. I can't remember what you said. Are you staying on, or do you need to leave at this point?
No, guys, I can stay on with you guys a little bit longer. So
awesome, good deal. We'd love to have you.
Welcome.
Well, you got, of course, JA, Leake, Simpson. We talked about those two games. Newton County Academy, a really strong team, an 8-man, goes 56-14 over Kemper Academy. Winona Christian with a dominant win over St. Al, 40-21. Winston Academy, shout out them with just a dominating performance against Carroll. Robbie, you're going to have to see Winston next week putting up some points. They have a lot of guys going both ways, but we'll see what they got against Lamar. Greenville St. Joe goes 36-8 over Kirk Academy. And Cliff, I'll let you take over the rest.
Yeah, and that Greenville St. Joe score surprised me a little bit. Greenville St. Joe, they were always an offensive powerhouse, but lost a quarterback, lost a few other big players last year, and Kirk had been kind of on the upswing. I was a little surprised at the deficit with that loss there, but a tight game up between Oak Hill and North Delta, just a 12-8 score, a little unusual on the scoreboard this week. West Memphis up in Arkansas, 31-15 over Regents. That was an 8-man game. River Oaks, an 8-man, 36-15 over Tallulah. And now the one we've already discussed a few moments ago, Bowling Green and ACCS, 35-13.
This portion of Varsity Voices brought to you by our friends at Pine Straw America. Now that football season is back, You want to do what you want to do on the weekend. If you're a guy I'm talking to, rather than get out in the yard every single weekend to manicure it and take care of it, why don't you let our friends at Pine Straw America help you out with their exclusive subscription program where your landscape will stay pristine and perfect looking all season long. Imagine lush edge beds every single season with no effort at all from you. All you have to do is call Pine Straw America to get things going. Pine Straw America, where quality, luxury, and curb appeal meet. Now we're going to look at some of the plays of the week on Varsity Voices.
Cooper, you want to talk us through these in the video as they come up? Or well,
Yeah,
no, we've got audio. We'll just let them play, then talk about them afterward.
And I'll talk about the two of them that don't have audio or don't have play-by-play on them.
Here's the snap to Smith. Smith hands it to Beasley. Beasley has a burst to the outside. He will get the first down. He has a lot of room in front of him. Beasley, nothing but green grass in front, and that will be a Jackson pin from the 37. There's the snap and hand to Beasley. Beasley will power through, breaks another tackle, and Beasley trying to beat one more man, and he will beat him. Ooh, that could be a block in the back, but there's no call. Either way, Beasley just had the edge, and he gets to the end zone. 13.
Go! Yeah!
This is going to be Wyatt Williams
Here's
from
the snap to
Kemper
Chandler.
Academy.
Chandler looking. He's going to heave that one to Page. Page catches it. He breaks a tackle. He gets to the sideline. Page going down the sideline. Green grass in front of him, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Rebels! How about it, Easton Page?
Like that might be Centerville.
Yeah, now I think these distorted a little bit. I'm not sure what they looked like on y'all's, but on mine they looked a little distorted with the video. But first two runs, that was Eric Beasley from Jackson Academy. He had a big game the other night. We'll talk about it in a little bit. He had a lot of big runs, and he was just dominant. Both were 60-plus yard touchdown runs. That third one was Wyatt Williams from Kemper Academy, some 8-man ball, goes about a 10-yard touchdown run, hurdles a defender, jumped over him. He also had 300 yards passing in that game against Newton County Academy. And then that last one, of course, the fourth one was Easton Page. He made that little hitch route, came around the corner, went all the way to the end zone, breaking a few tackles along the way. And then the last one right there, that was Centerville Academy and Amit School Center. Big-time rivalry down there in southwest Mississippi. Cade Redmond with that catch there. I want to give a shout-out to Harrison Simeon for that video. He covers down at the Enterprise Journal. But Cade Redmond goes up to make that catch for a touchdown over a defender, completely mosses him with 3 minutes left to go up in that huge rivalry game. First game under the new head coach, and Centerville was rolling the other night against a really talented ASC team.
Yeah, great job, Cooper, on getting those plays together, and I enjoyed your calls on those as well. You're off to a hot start early in the season. If you're listening or watching and didn't notice, that was Cooper making those great calls for that Leake JA game.
Well, I'm going to have to turn the mic down last week.
Already.
Going to have to turn the mic down on some of them last week. Mike got a little hot there at the beginning.
Yeah, well, it takes a minute to figure things out. That's understandable. I was impressed. I thought Cooper did a great job, and we want to pat our guy on the back up there.
Well, I appreciate that, Cliff.
This portion of Varsity Voices brought to you by our friends on the coast at Lighthouse Limo Service. If you're looking for luxury transportation when you stay on our Golden Gulf Coast, whether it's a night out with friends, maybe you have homecoming, prom, or just some reliable airport transportation is what you need, call Lighthouse Limo and travel in style, arrive safely, leave the driving to the real professionals. Book your ride today at lighthouselimoservice.com or call 228-797-LIMO. That's Lighthouse Limo, serving the entire Mississippi Gulf Coast. We'll throw it back to you, Cliff, and we'll be talking about some of the top performances in the state, and we'll be talking about our Army National Guard top performance, player of the entire week a little bit later on in Varsity Voices. But here are some of the finalists for that honor after week zero's action.
Yeah, and I see several kids from Leake Academy on there, well deserved. But down there at number 3, Cooper, our guy you and I praised so big last week, Desi Monix from up at Leake Academy. They got a big 42-18 win over Rossville Christian. I'd say he fit the bill well, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, and judging by the score 42-18, I have a feeling he didn't play a lot in the second half, especially with it being early on in the season. So, I mean, that's just another dominant performance from Monix. It wasn't the best rushing performance we saw all weekend because I think somebody saw our team rating, our All-State teams, and had something to say about it. But yeah, Desi with a big game, 175 yards. I mean, just dominant.
Yeah, and if we start back at the top, Major Chandler, first senior, but first year as a starting quarterback up there at Leake Academy, playing against what we all believe is one of the top teams in all of the MAIS. 389 pass yards and 5 touchdowns for that young man. Easton Page goes along with him, 250 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'll go ahead and hit the third Leake guy, then let Cooper talk about him for a moment. Gage Warren had 2 receiving TDs as well. Those young men really showed out against a tough JA team Friday night, Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, it was unreal to see. I said before, it's the best returning receiving core in the MAIS. But Major, I was looking at JA's live stats throughout the game. JA, with their live stats that they do, had Major with 400 passing yards. It's an 11-yard difference, but the 400 sounds better than the 389. So, I always want to make the player sound a little better. But Easton Page, he had a big game too, man. Major was putting it where it needed to be. Easton was going and getting it, finding it, and man, he just had an incredible game on the run. His yards after catch the other night were incredible. He probably had at least 112 yards after catch, and maybe even more than that. I mean, he played so well. Gage played awesome as well. He would have had a few more yards, Cliff. I remember you in our text earlier. There was one, he had a chance for a big touchdown or a big catch, about 50 more yards, and a call was not made, and penalty was made. But we ain't got to talk about the officials on here.
I saw it live, and it looked live just like it looked like on tape. So
yeah. So Gage had a big game. He was just going up and getting it. He had it only has on there 2 receiving touchdowns, but he had over 100 yards as well. Just 2 100-yard receivers in one game is huge for any team, especially at this level.
Yeah, and Robbie, you call a lot of games, but listen to these numbers I'm about to read you from the JA Leake game the other night. Total yards, JA 671, Leake 438. That's over 1,100 yards total. Passing yards, Leake actually won the passing yard game, 400 to 267 for JA, but here's the number. Rushing yards, Leake had 38. JA had 404 rushing yards, and both teams had 18 first downs. So there were some good things for Leake. There were some things to work on, but JA, holy cow, that rushing game, that's going to be tough to slow down. And I feel like every school that plays JA is going to have to do something in that defensive front to try to slow those running backs down.
Yeah, guys. Whenever we saw those numbers at our game the other night, we had 2 guys with over 130 yards, and I'm like, well, Beasley had all of that by himself, and I was like, when I saw the 1,000 plus, I was like, wow. So that was definitely it's game 1, but it's big numbers. But yeah, JA is going to be a handful for MRA is always going to be good, and prep. I mean, guys, we know all of what happens over in the metro areas is that is going to be a tough race over there this year, but JA looked pretty solid. I can't wait to see what MRA and prep is going to have coming up. So,
and the rest of the guys we got listed on the top performances of the week: Grant Gattle out of St. Aloysius, a 41-20 loss to Winona, but 262 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Wynn Spinks from up at Leake Academy, 2 rushing touchdowns. Noah Hamilton from Rossville Christian, he had 158 rushing yards. Henry Edwards from Regent School had 2 rushing TDs, and Caden Bruce from up at Greenville St. Joe had 2 rushing TDs in that win over the Kirk Academy Raiders.
And I got 2 things I want to say. One, I want to go back to League JA. No team had a drive more than 8 plays. So that's one thing with the game. But on the top performances, I know some of y'all are sitting here like, oh, my kid didn't make it. Oh, this player of mine didn't make it. He had this many yards. How is he not on the list? I see there's no JA kids on the list. You see, this thing we have, it pulls straight from Max Preps, and it's pulling from Huddle as well with stats that are uploaded on there. If you're not uploading your stats aren't going to be on there. So, hey, coaches, if you love your players, if you want your players to get picked, if you want your players to succeed, upload your stats. That's all I got to say.
In case we are missing those, Eric Beasley did end up with 311 yards on 18 carries and 4 touchdowns. So if there were official stats on there, obviously he would certainly belong at or very near the top of that list of the top performances right out of the gate.
100%.
And this portion of Varsity Voices brought to you by Genuine Mississippi, grown, raised, crafted, made, all right here in our beloved Magnolia State. Visit genuinems.com. Cooper, what do you have for me?
I was going to note, also with those performances, you had Braylon Morgan with 5 receptions, 165, and 2 touchdowns. Just to add to that. One of those that wasn't uploaded.
Well, we'll run into that issue quite a lot because these football coaches are among the busiest people on the planet, and sometimes these things fall through the cracks, and some teams better about it than others, for sure, year in and year out. But we want to be able to congratulate and spotlight all the top performances every week and help us help you. Coaches, please get those stats in as soon as you can post-game so we can start letting everyone know about players and their top performances every week. It'll be a big help for us.
So now we'll take a look at the 1A class games to watch next week. And guys, I'd like to go through the group here. Cooper and I went through and picked a couple of games that were interesting to us from each of the classifications. And Robbie, if you can stay around long enough to do this with us, I'd like to go through and have each of us make our picks for these games. And I want to start out down in 1A in the first one, Tunica versus Benton Academy. I'm picking the Raiders. The Raiders put up a lot of points this past Friday night. I believe they scored 52. And I think the Raiders have got something to show this year over at Benton Academy. And then the next game on there, Newton Academy and Humphreys. I'm going with the McClendons. I'm picking Humphreys. How about you, Coop?
Yeah, I think I'm also going to go with the Raiders. I'm going to go with Benton. Benton, they scored 52. Now, you might be saying Tunica, they scored 50. Benton's defense played a little bit better. Benton allowed 12 points while Tunica allowed 22. I know it's really early on and we really don't get to see what we're looking for, but defensive efficiency, Benton just outweighs them 78-47. It's a big time game coming up in 1A. These are 2 really talented teams, but I think Benton will win this one. Between Newton and Humphreys, I mean, that's going to be a big game. I think I want to lead more Newton. Humphreys, was very talented, but they don't have a lot coming back. I think I am going to go Newton this game.
I'm going to take the visiting team, Tunica, at Benton to get their second win of the season. And I'm also going to go with Newton County Academy in that second one.
Guys, I'll probably make it I'll probably go with Benton Academy, kind of leaning that direction. Got to go with Newton County Academy because if I don't, the head coach of Newton County Academy knows where I live. Stevie Nelson is a dear, dear friend of mine. Actually, his son was a running back on one of our three-peat teams at Lamar. So Steve's done a great job over at Newton County Academy and had a big win week 1. So I got to go with them on the road. Be a tough game on the road, but I'll have to go Generals right there.
And now for our Class 2A games to watch this week. This week we picked out Greenville St. Joe and Bio Academy, a good matchup up in the Delta, and Lamar and Winston. And just to make it interesting and change it up, I wanted to get Robbie to go first on this one.
Whoa, wait.
Guys, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game because the last 2 or 3 years these two teams have played, it's been a very, very good matchup. Winston upset Lamar at Lamar here recently, 2 or 3 seasons ago. Lamar went to Winston. The last time we were there, it was a monsoon and rained so much it was a low scoring game. Lamar's got the physical running attack, and Winston with a big shutout really opened our eyes a good bit. Here's the big thing with Lamar in the first game I didn't mention earlier, guys. They didn't turn it over once, and when you do that on the road, that's a pretty good sign. And I think Lamar's in great shape going into this ball game. One injury might be a factor. Robert Gardner might be out of this ball game coming up. He's one of our edge guys, and in the secondary, I don't know how much that's going to hurt Lamar on the defensive side youthfully, but like Lamar's running attack. But Winston, this is their home opener. It's, got to pick Lamar. Obviously, that's where the paycheck comes from. But would not surprise me if we look up in the fourth quarter and this is a one possession game. So,
What's your thoughts on Bio and Greenville St. Joe?
guys, that's a great Delta game right there. I know Bio Academy. Lamar has played Bio in the past. That's such a good early season game. I'll probably go with Bio at home, probably.
Yeah, and I'm gonna follow. I saw Bio the other night at the Tri County Jamboree, and Bio was a good looking team. I feel like I'm gonna pick Bio over Greenville St. Joe, and I'm not gonna hurt your feelings, Robbie. I'm going with Lamar over Winston. I'm going that way. What about you? What you thinking, Coop?
Bio St. Joe is going to be a really, really good game. Bio has a lot of guys that have waited their turn, and they're getting that chance now after a lot of guys graduated. But man, Julius McCullum both ways and Jaleel Moore, man, those guys are really dominant for St. Joe. I think I'm going to be the one that sticks out here. I just haven't seen enough of Bio. I mean, I guess you saw him at the Jamboree. I haven't seen him yet. That's why I'm taking Greenville St. Joe. Robbie, I'll ask one question before Winston Lamar. Does Lamar have a lot of guys that play both ways?
They have 3 guys that play both ways,
Okay.
1 interior lineman, and then 2 guys that are skill guys.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna go with Lamar. I think Winston has the talent to keep that one close. I think Winston, has the guys to go out there and make the plays, but Winston, I think they have about 13 different starters across both ways. They have a lot of guys going both ways. That's going to be their thing this year. They're a really talented ball club. They got guys like Kingsley Ashford, Paxton Greer can really throw it and run it well. Got a lot of guys on defense and really good linemen. But when you play both ways, I mean, it just gets really difficult. And they're going to get winded. Lamar is going to wear them out both ways. And it's just that's how Lamar is going to do it. I think Lamar wins it.
I'm in agreement with that. I'm taking Lamar to win on the road and for Winston Academy to come out with some momentum and keep it close for a while. I believe Winston will give Lamar a lot tighter game than Simpson did last week, but I look for Lamar to win this one on the road. And I'm on the Bayou bandwagon with you guys taking the Colts this Friday night at Bayou Academy, even though Greenville St. Joe will play them a very competitive football game. I look for Bayou to win this one in the fourth quarter. And those are a couple of really good games to keep your eye on this Friday night. This portion of Varsity Voices brought to you by Oxford Falls and Sizemore Catering. From finishing sauces and marinades to salad dressings and a whole lot more, the Oxford Falls brings Mississippi flavors straight to your kitchen. You can order online at theoxfordfalls.com and enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. That's Oxford Falls and Sizemore Catering. Now let's roll on with some 3A games to watch. Brookhaven Academy, making the state championship game a year ago, will be opening up the season this Friday night at home against Bowling Green. Fellas, a team that already has a victory under their belt this year that has to give them an edge just having that one full game already played this last Friday night. I'm looking for Bowling Green to win this one on the road. I believe Brookhaven's numbers are a little bit down this year. And so I look for Bowling Green to go to 2-0 on the season. And Wayne Academy and Columbia Academy should be a really good one. In fact, Coach Joey Hawkins was just calling me right before we went on tonight. Wish I was able to have picked it up, but I know he's very excited about his team's home opener against Wayne Academy, who should play them tough. But I look for Columbia Academy to get the victory in game number one. So I'll go with Bowling Green and Columbia Academy in these two matchups. Cliff, how do you see these two?
Well, I'm going to be very boring following you, Lee, because that's the same two picks I'm going with. I'm going with Bowling Green. They showed out against ACCS this past Friday night with that big victory, and Columbia just has some of the best athletes. I saw a baseball team last year that it looked like it was every kid out there looked like a defensive end. That's what I felt like when I was watching them out on the baseball field. And all I could think was the way these guys look. I know they lost a few of those guys, but they got a lot of talent coming back. And I think Columbia is going to be tough to handle. My picks are Bowling Green and Columbia. Cooper.
All right. Coop.
You guys just want me to be different tonight?
Yes. Controversy, Cooper. Come on.
Yeah. And I don't mean this any disrespect to Bowling Green. Last week was a week to turn up. You beat ACCS, a really talented ball club. This week is a week to wake up and get back to reality. I think Brookhaven is going to show Bowling Green a lot. I think Brookhaven wins by maybe even 2 scores against Bowling Green. Bowling Green, I think they're talented, but Brookhaven a bigger school. Brookhaven has bigger kids. I think Brookhaven is just a little bit better of a ball club than Bowling Green. I got Brookhaven by 2 scores. I'm not going to be controversial with this one. Trent Buckley is going to have a dominant game against Wayne. I think Columbia just has more athletes than Wayne. That's not saying Wayne doesn't have athletes, but I think Columbia has more. Columbia, like we said, is going to be one of those teams to watch out for in 3A, and I think they beat Wayne not easily but comfortably.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Columbia Academy. I got to go with what Cliff said about the baseball side of things. I remember seeing Columbia last year on the baseball field. Unbelievable. I mean, they just had guys everywhere.
It was crazy.
I mean, just unbelievable. But yeah, I like Columbia Academy in that game. And on the other side, I'm kind of going back and forth with this. I know Brookhaven, we saw them last year, that being Lamar at the state championship. And I know there was a good number of guys they lost off of that team a year ago. Bowling Green, yeah, Brookhaven, that's a tough one, guys. I'm going to go with Bowling Green on the road. I mean, I don't think they're going to win by that much, but I think it'll be a really, really tight ball game. So
Now moving along to 4A. Couple of big games to watch. Pillow Academy at Heritage Academy, and then the Park Lane Pioneers crossing state lines down there on the coast to take on a very tough Gulf Shores program. How about we start with you, Cooper Sanders, this time with your look at these two?
All right. So I think it's going to be a really good ball game. I'm going to start with Park Lane Gulf Shores. Out of state game, that's big for the MAIS, and it's not uncommon for the MAIS, but it's uncommon to go over to a public school in another state, especially a state like Alabama, a team like Gulf Shores, a very big school down there. Just as of late, Gulf Shores has been struggling, but they have a great coach in Mark Hudspeth, former Louisiana Lafayette head coach. Louisiana, I'll say, not Louisiana Lafayette anymore. He was at Austin P for a few years as a head coach. He was a tight end coach at Mississippi State. Actually, when Leach got the job, Hudspeth was one of those guys who was in talks for taking that SEC job. He's a guy from Louisville, Mississippi, and he's coaching down there at Gulf Shores now. I think they're a really well-coached team, but Park Lane is a really talented team. Park Lane's going to have to win the first down, limit turnovers, and establish the run game. Gulf Shores, they're going to have to be explosive just about every drive, and they're going to have to stretch the field vertically. I think Gulf Shores is coached well enough to slow this game down to where it's not a slugfest, but I'm going to take Park Lane by less than a score, or less than a touchdown, I'll say. Between Pillow and Heritage, I think Heritage wins this one. Heritage is one of the better teams in 3A. They're playing up to 4A. Juice Tate, we finally get to see him, and I think him and the offense under Coach Tobias Smith, I think they're going to beat Pillow by a touchdown.
All right, well, I'll go next. I'll take in the Heritage Pillow game. I have the same thoughts you have, Cooper. You know, we talked in our preview show about what we thought about Juice Tate and how explosive he was going to be for Heritage, and I think Heritage is just too much for Pillow Academy. And that Park Lane Gulf Shores game, you know, that Gulf Shores school is not only an Alabama public school, that's a 6A Alabama public school. That's a big time school. And you know, we talked about mascots last week. Coop, you ever seen the Dolphins before? Because I have not seen a dolphin. That's the first dolphin I've ever seen. But I think the Pioneers are going to take care of the Dolphins this week. Robbie, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, guys, I think that's a big game for Park Lane to kind of wave our MAIS flag pretty high. Gulf Shores, I mean, my wife and I were at the beach this summer. We drove past the campus they have down there. It is unbelievable what they have, the facilities and everything like. But facilities don't win games. Park Lane's got a great football team. I think that's it would be a big statement win for our organization to do that. And Heritage, I like them. Tobias has done an amazing job there in Columbus. I remember when he first took that job, they were kind of at their lowest of lows. And now you see how he's built that thing up over the last several years. And yeah, I think Juice is going to have a big game this week. So, yeah, give me Heritage there.
Cliff, you said you've never seen a Dolphin mascot. Have you ever watched the National Football League?
I'm talking about in high school. Let me clarify. Let me go back, Cooper. I've never seen a high school team called the Dolphins. Let me say that.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
seen one in JUCO. I've seen one in JUCO. So,
yeah. All right, Lee.
All right, we're going also make it an even sweep with Heritage being picked by all four of us. Again, Tate, I think, will be the difference in just a disparity with talent level at Heritage versus Pillow Academy. I'm also taking the Park Lane Pioneers at Gulf Shores, and I want to remind our friends down in Pike County around the Macomb area, if you're not able to travel to the game this Friday night, you can hear it on K106, which is 105.7 FM, and Benji Embry will be bringing you all that play-by-play action. Coach Rushing did tell me about a young man on his team that he thinks is the best athlete on any team in the entire state. Wow. That's some big praise from Coach, and his name is Cardez Copeland. He plays wide receiver and cornerback, and he can absolutely fly. And he said there's a lot of speed on the entire team, but Cardez Copeland, it's very hard to describe how explosive, quick, fast, whatever other adjective you want to use to describe someone with great quickness and speed. He's a burner, and I think he could be the difference in this football game, and this will be a big win for Park Lane, and as you mentioned, a big feather in the cap for the whole MAIS.
Really quickly, Cliff,
are able to win that game.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Lee. Really quickly, Cliff, I know we didn't put a graphic up there, and we made Robbie pick his, but we said me and you weren't going to pick ours. Do we want to make Lee and Robbie pick between our games really quick?
We can do that if we want to. I got so Robbie, I'm the Tri-County guy. If you don't know that, I'm the Tri-County play-by-play guy. We got Canton this week. Lee and Robbie, pick that game for me. Robbie,
well, you didn't hurt my feelings, so I won't hurt your feelings. I go with Tri-County.
Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that very much.
Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but as that old song by the Eagles goes, somebody's going to hurt someone tonight when these high school football games happen. Somebody's going to get undone and get some feelings hurt, and I have a feeling it's going to be Canton Academy in this ball game. And if it's anything like what I saw in the matchup between those two teams last year, Tri-County is not going to have too hard a time defeating Canton Academy. So that'll be my pick for Canton versus Tri-County.
Now, Robbie, you saw Simpson last week. Leake Simpson, big rivalry game at Simpson. Who's winning?
You know, Simpson, basically what they did last week to score twice was explosive plays. And, the young Baldwin kid that's their quarterback, I mean, he's got a great arm, but it was really two busted coverages by Lamar that kind of led to those two scores. He's not a very mobile quarterback. Got two good skill guys on each end, but I think Simpson, they're very, very, very young in a lot of spots, especially inside on the defensive line. And the way Leake moved the ball last week, I like Leake in the ball game, but you guys know as well as I do, going to that atmosphere at Simpson, especially after Simpson coming off a loss, you just don't know what to expect. But still, after what Leake did last week, I think both teams are going to be hungry. But I like Leake to give Simpson their second loss at home, and you don't see that too often. Simpson going 0-2 to start a year, and both of them being at home. So that would be a big story. But I like Leake there.
One of the things we talk about when we talk football is, are you ready when the game starts? Did you show up and look like you were ready? You want to talk about someone who's always ready, and that's the Army National Guard, serving the state and nation with pride. You can discover how you can serve now in the Mississippi Army National Guard. And we'll have our Mississippi Army National Guard Player of the Week, or are we going to call it Performance of the Week? There he is, Eric Beasley, the transfer out of Clinton, Mississippi, senior running back for JA. Really put up some big numbers, didn't he?
Yeah, and absolutely. And if I wouldn't have witnessed it, we wouldn't have known about it because the stats weren't uploaded. But man, 311 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was untackleable. I think I heard that's actually a Jackson Academy rushing record for Eric Beasley. The kid was just flying the other night. He could not be tackled. It was unreal to see, and I really hope some colleges start looking, because that he is a JUCO player of the year type of talent at that running back position. He reminds me a lot of Johnny Daniels, who won that award a few years ago and then went on to Mississippi State. A very talented running back.
Yeah, I saw him the other night with my own two eyes, and I know they don't see that good. But when I say this, Cooper, you know this. I like to give you a hard time, and you like to give me one.
Yeah.
I am not discounting a single athlete from Leake. Leake is loaded from top to bottom. They have some studs all over the field, and I was up there close to them on the sidelines. But Beasley had a different gear. Nobody else on the field has the gear that Beasley had, and when he's out in the open field, he's nearly unstoppable. I mean, you're not going to catch him, and he's so elusive. He's not just fast straight line speed down the field. He can jump cut, he can get lateral, he can get to the sidelines around the corner, and he can also slow play you a little bit, drag that back foot a little, skip step, and then he's full speed in one step. He impressed me. I feel like it's a well-deserved award, and I feel like he's going to be the main cog in that JA offense this year.
Well, I concur with that, and I believe Mr. Beasley's going to have several, at least 200 and maybe several more 300-yard games. He's that good. He is a special talent, and it doesn't hurt having Caden Moss and company blocking for you. The entire offensive line is at Jackson Academy among the very best in all the state. So there you have it. Congratulations to Eric Beasley of Jackson Academy, our Mississippi Army National Guard Player of the Week. And that's going to wrap up our second episode of the MAIS version of Varsity Voices. For Cooper Sanders and Cliff Barker, Robbie Atkinson, we certainly enjoyed having you on the show as well tonight. I hope you will come back during the season from time to time and check in with us and let us know how Lamar's doing. Is that a deal?
Absolutely, guys. It was a pleasure. And anytime you guys want to have me on, just let me know.
Thanks, Robbie. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Varsity Voices presented by C Spire. Give your business the home field advantage with C Spire. End-to-end business solutions, already serving 49 states, starting with yours. Get the technology you need today at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Enjoy your football games, gentlemen, this Friday night. Look forward to talking with you about what happens on Friday night, what's going to be happening a week from Friday night. It's so much fun when it all gets into full swing, and we know that everybody will be playing every Friday night, and we'll avoid a little confusion about who starts when. We all will be in a week-to-week situation starting on August 21st, and I couldn't be happier about it, guys. Great job tonight, and we will talk to you again next week. I'm Lee Adams, thanking you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Varsity Voices.